The Crea-Star railing welding facility, rational metal railing construction, awarded the Bavarian State Prize at the IHM International Trade Fair in Munich, 1998. Developed and manufactured by Schlosserei Karl Zimmermann AG in Bern, Switzerland. Contact your distribution partner for sales and marketing information. Crea-Star. No calculating, no spacers, no bolsters required, no aligning, high ergonomics, time savings of up to 50%, improved dimensional accuracy, quick adjustment to different railing types, always identical banister spacing, easy to mount components, precise angles. Crea-Star. Developed by specialists for specialists.
Wir haben bei der Crea-Star verschiedene Einstellmöglichkeiten.
Crea-Star can be adjusted to different settings. In the case of typical railings, the materials used are of different thicknesses. With the sample parts I will be using, the top transom is 40 millimeters and the banisters 20 millimeters. First, I turn the facility to a vertical position, open the clamping lever screws and set the necessary difference of 10 millimeters on the arms.
An den Auslegern ein.
The same principle applies to the bottom transom. The material we are using is 30 millimeters, so I have to set the height to 5 millimeters.
Löse dazu wieder die Klemmschrauben.
To do this, I again open the clamping screws and can read the necessary 5 millimeters directly on the measuring rail. There are 20 pairs of rotary plates on the scissor mechanism that all move absolutely parallel to one another. Now I have to set a right angle with the stop rail. To do this, I can use the attached measuring rails on the left and right sides. I select a value for the banister height. In our case, it is 20 centimeters, and set the same measurement on the left side.
Der linken Seite ein.
Here, the procedure for banister cutting and banister adjusting remains the same. What changes is that I no longer have to calculate spacing. I lay the banisters in the spring-loaded rotary plate.
Anschließend
Then I position the bottom transom. Once the banisters are in place, I can change the spacing, while the distance between the banisters always remains equal.
immer gleich.
The measurement I am interested in is the length of the bottom transom. I adjust the scissor mechanism until the banisters are evenly distributed. Now I measure for the first time that my clear width is less or equal the 12 centimeters required as standard. I could insert another banister or remove one and see if this improves the situation. Now all I have to do is position the top transom. I press my hip against the rail and clamp down the element.
Klemme das Element fest.
My name is Robert Weinarek, and I am junior manager at the Weinarek Company. We are a structural steelworks and blacksmith company in Hohenbrunn near Munich. At our blacksmith shop we also do a lot of railing work. We produce about 3,000 meters of railings a year. At the moment, we have 20 employees in our production area. 6 of whom work in railing production. The welding facility has proven invaluable to us. Now I am finished and can already begin welding. I turn the facility to a position in which I can comfortably work. The earth cable of the welding unit has to be put on the railing element. If the material I am using is thicker than 6 millimeters, I do not have to tack. I can just weld directly. In the first welding session, I will work on this side. In the second session, on the other. After the first session, the element is already much stronger than it is now, clamped in the facility. That means I can turn the facility upside down and weld on the other side just as comfortably. This was an easy procedure. Too easy, since we have not made any allowances for posts. It is not possible to insert a post in the facility because it generally has different measurements than my banister. This would mean the clear width would not be constant. Another issue is that the U-beam of the top rail is in the way. In manufacturing, that procedure is just as easy. However, this is where you have to approach things a bit differently. A blacksmith is used to working in a gauge. Generally, I build a window frame, a door frame, or a railing frame and then fill it with banisters. With Crea-Star, you first build the filling element and then complete it with the post to create a frame. And again, in manufacturing, this procedure is also pretty simple. I have cut 2 additional banisters, which I will use to simulate posts. The scissor mechanism is stretched a bit. The second post is inserted and then pushed together again until the banisters are slightly touching. The top transom is positioned in the same way. I use the 2 outer banisters to simulate the 2 posts and then remove these 2 banisters.
Simuliere ich meine Posten. Nehme diese beiden Stäbe wieder heraus.
After welding, I can also insert a wider post in the filler element. The clear width is constant.
Die lichte Weite ist konstant.
Mr. Weinerek, you have been using the Crea-Star welding facility at your plant for 2 months. Why did you decide to buy Crea-Star, and what expectations did you have?
Wir kennen die Crea-Star aus der Werbung.
We saw Crea-Star in advertisements, and at the time we were counting on being awarded a large contract. We ended up getting the contract and decided to try to do the work with Crea-Star. We were hoping that would make the job a lot easier, and we would save time and achieve greater accuracy. Has Crea-Star been able to meet your expectations? And how easy is it for your employees, and perhaps even you, to work with Crea-Star? I personally do not work with the facility. I just don't have the time. However, my workers say it is very easy to use. After the short amount of time required to learn how to operate it, they have no problems using it. At this point, you have had some experience using the facility at your plant. How much time do you think you save in comparison to conventional methods for producing railings? I'd say about 30%. How did your workers adjust to what the Swiss company calls the element construction technique? This means that the filler element is first created and then the frame is closed with the posts. In terms of the large contract I mentioned, we cannot use element construction. We have to use the construction method the architect specified. However, we did use element construction for a smaller contract, and it worked very nicely. Welded banister railings are often a large portion of a big contract. Do you think companies that do this kind of work using Crea-Star can gain a competitive advantage? I think it depends on the contract. If the contract can be done with Crea-Star, then there are competitive advantages.
Wettbewerbsvorteile erzielen.
For which type of railing types have you found Crea-Star to be most suitable so far? Crea-Star is best used for railings with a handrail, banisters, and a top and bottom transom, and where the posts can be welded on afterwards. This is where working with Crea-Star offers real advantages. To make a stair railing, I insert the banisters diagonally in the scissor mechanism. Now, if I move the scissor mechanism, not only the distance between banisters changes, but also the angle changes a bit. Not much, but often too much. This is why we carefully worked on the geometry of the facility and developed this adjustment table. For every calculated spacing, center of a banister, a setting can be entered for the scissor mechanism that is measured from the first to the last rotary plate. For example, if I have calculated a spacing of 117.5 millimeters, according to the table, I have to set the scissor mechanism to 2,694 millimeters. It is even easier with our computer program, which is written for Microsoft Excel and works like this. First, you define where the posts are to be mounted at the construction site. You measure the clear width between the posts, in other words, the length of the bottom transom, and define the inclined angle of the staircase. This means I only have to enter 3 values. In this case, the length of the bottom transom, 792 millimeters, the angle, 30 degrees, and the banister thickness, 8 millimeters. The program calculates the number of banisters, distance between the banister centers, clear width, and, the key value, the setting for the scissor mechanism. In order to precisely set the angle, the program also provides a length difference based on the right arm. With my sample parts, I will now set things up for a staircase railing with an inclination angle of 30 degrees. The program calculated that I need 5 banisters, and the setting for the scissor mechanism is 2,632 millimeters. The definition of this setting is from the center of the first rotary plate to the center of the last one. In reality, I measure from leading edge to leading edge. To set the precise staircase angle, the program calculated that I set the right arm to 124 millimeters less than the left one. On the left side, I specify a 0 point of 200 millimeters. Then I set the right side to 124 millimeters less, in other words, to 76 millimeters. The principle for constructing an inclined staircase railing is the same as a straight railing. The program calculated that I need 5 banisters. 2 additional banisters would simulate my posts. I position the bottom transom again with the help of the two outer banisters. Now, the only thing missing is the top transom. When inserting the top transom, I must be careful not to press too hard against the stop rail so that the banisters will not bend. Before beginning to weld, I check the measurements of the railing. The railing is supposed to have an angle of 30 degrees. 30 degrees are set. The computer calculated that the spacing between the banisters should be 115.6 millimeters. The scissor mechanism is also accurately set. The support on the stop rail is kept narrow so that I can also weld narrow materials. Now, if I want to process a pipe, this support will not be enough. But leave it to the Swiss company to even come up with a solution for that. After all, the device was developed by people with practical experience. The holes of this U-beam are off-centered. That means when I loosen the screws and turn the rail the other way around, the support surface will become greater. And I will have room for a 42 millimeter pipe. The advantage of Crea-Star over conventional railing production is, for one, that I save time cutting spacers thanks to the banister spacing system. This makes handling easier. If the length of the railing is correct, I have a length of 3 meters here, then I do not need a second person to turn it around. Another advantage is the facility's accuracy, since I only have to measure once. The spacers then always remain the same. Our workers do not need much time to learn how to use the facility, less than a day. They are shown how to use the device only once by the foreman. He carefully explains how the device works, and then they are able to set Crea-Star using the table specs we give them. This means the foreman does not have to be working at Crea-Star. Any blacksmith can do the work. The computer program, the Excel list, has proven to be very useful. You take the construction site values, enter them in the Excel list, and obtain the table. With the table specs, it is easy for our workers to adjust the settings on Crea-Star. Also, Crea-Star eliminates the problem of welding splash. The cover over the joints can be removed. We work with 2 of these railing welding facilities. The other one looks a bit different. It is easy to remove the covers and clean the device. Grinding dust always accumulates, but that is no problem. You just have to clean Crea-Star like any other machine. After a short learning cycle, our employees now like working with Crea-Star. I would never do without it again.